The United Nations is warning of a new wave of violence in Afghanistan. Tens of thousands of civilians have been driven from their homes by a major offensive by the Taliban in the southern province of Helmand. That's where British troops were mainly based while fighting in Afghanistan. Over 450 British service personnel were killed during a 14-year period. Now the fresh fighting is threatening fragile peace talks between the Afghan government and the Taliban. Our chief international correspondent Lyse Doucet reports from Kabul.
Helicopter fire over Helmand again. The Afghan military pounding Taliban targets. A week of all-out war after the Taliban took more territory. Another week of suffering for civilians. Afghans escaping the violence, lives upended again. And it's not just Helmand. In eastern Afghanistan, a classroom of empty spaces, of aching loss. Two other boys, Zahir and Adnan, used to sit here. A few days ago, a truck bomb killed them.
That day is still in my mind. It goes round and round my thoughts. When the explosion happened, there was a massive cloud of smoke. Even people far from here heard the explosion. It was very big and loud.
This was the target, a security base. 60 civilians killed or injured. The bomber struck at midday as students headed home. In a province with both Taliban and Islamic State fighters, no one says they did it.
We thought when the peace talks started, the war would end. But look, even the talks are happening and the war continues right here.
The violence in Afghanistan now is an everyday kind of violence. Afghans being killed as they leave their schools, as they go to work, when they're sitting at home. Every Afghan has a story of loss on every side of this war, which has dragged on for decades. This public hearing in Kabul is one of the only spaces where they can share their stories and say their voices must be heard, including at the peace talks.
We're not hopeful about the future in this case, because if they end this war, maybe another war start after the peace that they bring, because the wounds are still open and the wounds are not healed.
Someday little Amina will tell her story of her wounds. She was shot in the legs in May, just 2 hours old. Her mother and others killed in a clinic after giving birth. An attack blamed on the Islamic State group. Bloodied blankets, a shocking symbol of this merciless war. But Amina survived. Dr. Bina saved her legs and her life.
She's perfect, I'm really happy. Definitely, she is the symbol of resilience for all of us, for Afghanistan, for Kabul, for everyone.
Including her father.
If I tell you about the pain I have suffered, no one in the world should suffer like this. My wife was murdered 2 hours after she gave birth. But despite this, if there is peace, my child and my country will have a future.
The hostilities in Helmand have driven home how hard it will be to make peace. If the guns keep firing, even peace talks may not survive. Lyse Doucet, BBC News, Kabul.